Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm like, all right. So now, what's going on? Like, what happened? I used Firebase. I was really excited about Firebase. It was awesome, as you can see in the other videos. I got to a stage which I've never gotten to before. I was actually able to use the app, and then I started testing the app, and I started using it with my coaching practice, and I was getting value from it, and because it really focuses the conversations that I'm trying to have with people. You see, the whole thing is that I'm using AI agents to create a little piece of software which I designed. Let me share my screen, and then you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so here it is. Maybe I should just check my audio just to make sure that, I hate it when you do a whole video and then turns out that your audio doesn't work or it doesn't sound nice or something's wrong. So I'm just going to do, okay, it's fine. All right. So yeah, here it is. Now the thing is, let me just take 2 or 3 minutes to explain. What happened was I was teaching a book called Create Crucial Insight, and over the years, as I've taught it, I've been able to make stuff and create thinking tools, and I've been able to help a lot of people in my coaching practice. I'm developing an entirely new coaching methodology based on the work of Thomas Buchholz in his book Create Crucial Insight. So um, as I taught the lessons, then I recognized that people were having a hard time understanding exactly how to use Tom's work. And what I discovered is that your ability to understand Tom's work is directly proportional to your experiences in the business world. So if you don't have a lot of experience in the business world, then it's going to be really difficult for you to use his book. And what I also noticed is for people who had a lot of experience in the business world, a lot of Tom's work they understood, and they had used similar ideas in their business practice. This is the book Create Crucial Insight. And so what I've done is, as I've taught, I eventually made I made this online course called the Endeavor Cycle Introduction. And this actually it helped me to really understand who my audience is. And what I discovered is that every business has basically three main functions. You have people who are making decisions, you have people using thinking frameworks and doing data analysis, then you have people who are following orders and rules. So for example, if you are in a grocery store, if we start with the very, very bottom one called if we look at a technician. So the technician is in a grocery store. We have to look at the nature of what is a grocery store. A grocery store is basically a logistics company. They get products from factories and farms, and then they put them on the shelves for people to come and pick up. And so the technician, the person doing the service, is it's separated between three major sections. You have somebody who's taking the products from the truck at the dock, at the shipping dock, putting it into their storage, and then there's the second person who's taking the storage. They're putting the product onto the shelves, and then there's the third person who's taking the product from the shelf to the clerk. So then you have these clerks who are processing transactions. Now, one type of clerk is the actual cashier who's scanning the objects and putting a transaction into the system. But you also have a lot of other clerks. And so you can see that doing the service is the actual process of moving that product from the shipping dock, maybe even from the farm to your home. So all of the things that happen between the farm and your home, they have to be supported by lawyers, accountants, the purchasing department, registration. This is the paperwork that's processed when you are trying to do this kind of service. When everybody wants to cooperate in a business, you have to have all these business services to support that actual transaction. So when it comes to hands, you can see the technician is actually moving the product from A to B. The clerks are producing, they're touching paper, they're they're creating the paper in order to support that movement of products. And then the librarian, of course, if you're going to have accountants, you need some software. If you're going to have a purchasing department, you need an ERP. All of these things are supported by software. And so we have these librarians who are making sure that the software and the database works in order to support the clerks who support the technicians. All right, so hands, these guys are touching computer keys, these guys are touching paper, these guys are touching products. And that's what's happening. That's the question, is what's happening and what do we have to work with? And that's what's going on in the business. Now, eventually what happens is your analyst jumps in and they go and they call up the librarian, and then they talk to the clerks, and then they talk to the technicians. They try to figure out what's actually happening in the business. What can we do? How can we do it? How sure are we? And they make sure that things are happening appropriately. Like maybe you have some apples which are not being sold, and then the analyst, then they go to the manager and say, hey, listen, based on our analysis, we've discovered that the apples aren't being purchased, these special kind of apples. And then the analyst says, okay, so we recommend that we stop purchasing these apples because they're just going rotten and they're getting thrown in the garbage. Okay, so then now we have to make a decision. Now, the manager, the question is, have we double checked potential solutions? Now, the manager, when they're having a meeting with the executive and they're saying, hey, is this a decision? So you have to decide beforehand, is this a decision the manager can make without the executive approval? But both of them are in the making decisions area. So we'll just say that they're having a little meeting. They're saying, all right. Now the executive says to the manager, did you double check? And he says, what do you mean double check? He's like, the data, the analyst told me that we need to stop purchasing these green apples. They're just being wasted. And then the executive says, yeah, well, I've been in the grocery industry for 50 years. That doesn't sound right. So then the manager, he goes to the floor of the grocery store, he goes to talk to the technician and says, no, he goes to the librarian and says, hey, librarian, is it true that the green apples aren't being purchased? He said, yeah, of course. The analyst has the correct data. And then he goes up to the clerks and they say, hey, the purchasing department, and says, hey, what's going on with your purchasing of these green apples? And they say, yeah, they're being sold, but look in the ERP system. They're not being sold. We're buying it, but they're not being sold. So there's no problem with the ERP system. There's no problem with the purchasing department. Then they go on the floor and talk to the technician and say, hey, what's going on with these green apples? And he says, green apples? He says, yeah, there's a box. They're getting thrown in the garbage. And he says, we don't have green apples. He says, look, I see there's a box up there. And he's like, oh, those are green apples? So then they take the box, they open up the box, and it's full of green apples. And then the technician says, oh, I didn't realize. I thought they were telling me that this was garbage. So they said to put it up on the shelf. And then every time I just put it up there because I thought it was garbage. And then so the manager talks to the other technician and says, what's going on with these green apples? He says, green apples? He said, yeah, there's a box. Somebody keeps putting these green apples up there and they just go rotten. So the manager has to double check because the analysts sometimes they don't get the whole picture. So they go back to the executive. So then what they do is they open up the box of apples, they put them in the right place to be sold, and then it changes, of course, it changes the data in the database. The analyst says, oh, I didn't realize what was going on. So anyways, now the manager then needs to go to the coach and say, all right, so we need to create some kind of protocol for what to do when we see these types of behaviors. And then they talk to the technicians and come up with a new policy for how to put apples on the shelves. They talk to the purchasing department. Well, nothing really happened. So then they talk to the purchasing department and say, when some data is showing that like there's zero purchases of a certain type of product, then it means that there's likely some issue with the placement of the product on the shelves, not that people aren't buying that product. And then they say, yeah, okay, now let's go talk to the database and put a little bit of an automated structure into our system that shows that if there's been like 1 or 2 days where a product is not being purchased at all, then the technician should go and check it. So the coach creates that thinking framework and that protocol. All right, so this is the cycle. Now, this is the very first thing I talk to all my students about, and it very, very quickly helps me to understand because, like, when the person starts telling me about like their job, then I can very quickly understand: are you an executive? Are you a manager? Are you an analyst? Are you a coach? Are you a technician? Are you a clerk? Are you a librarian? Where are you in this process? And for a lot of people, my course might not be the best thing for you because maybe you're just a technician. I was talking to a gentleman last night, and he's a computer coder, and like, okay, now you are a technician. I mean, you might say, well, he's a computer coder, so he's actually a librarian. Technically, because the service that he's doing is the service of computer coding, works for a software company. So is it his job to maintain the database for all of the coders? No, he's just doing a project. He's doing the service of coding. So anyways, so you can see this little thing. And then, he's like, well, I know what an analyst does. So you can kind of see that like he wants to become an analyst based on the way he's talking. He kind of knows what analysts are. He knows what a consultant is. He knows what a SaaS analyst is. He's like, yeah, that's the direction I want to go. And then, but he's not the manager. You can tell he's not the manager because of the way he understands this flow. Now it's the same with Tom's book. Like when you start to go into his checklists, you can very quickly understand what kind of person they are, what kind of job and experiences they've had, because all of these checklists, they have some connection with types of business behavior. And in the last 20 days, you've seen that this section I've designed it's for managers to manage projects and people. It's a very simple process. You have to develop these habits in order to start making progress in your life. And then also a couple days ago, I also created the basis for another one. What's this one about? This is about a performance review. So this is a higher level. After you start actually getting output, then you can eventually go and look into, can we improve our performance? So this is just getting things done. And then once you kind of have some standard processes, now we can go back in and start to look at the people and the processes. Can we improve those processes? Can we improve those people? And then eventually we're going to get over here, which is an even higher level, where we're going to be looking at like the executive level stuff. So I would say this is like hands. This is how a manager actually manages those hands to get the product or service built. And then this is a performance review. So this is going into the analyst and then seeing how we can make improvements. And then this is the executive level, where we're putting the teams together, we're putting the resources together. Anyways, right now we're building this piece of the app. I used Firebase, and like they're still charging me $35. I'm still waiting. Hopefully they can resolve this issue, because I really don't want to pay that $35. Problem. What's the problem? The problem is that, like, what's this page? Yeah, Google for developers. I'm getting a really bad taste in my mouth with this Google stuff, because it's like you plug something in, you go in and you want to start doing something, and then they just immediately start charging you. And like, you know, Gemini Code Assist Standard, like how many calls do I get? Like how much coding can I do each month? And then how do you actually deal with that? How do you actually charge me? Like, why is it that I spent 2 minutes changing some little tiny thing in my app and you charge me $35? So it's like, your system is not good yet. So I'm afraid to sign up to their premium, because I don't even know what that means. What do you mean standard assist? Well, like, how many calls do I get? And how do you see? The thing is about these IDEs, and when you have this little agent attached to it, right? What are we talking about? Let's jump into uh, Cursor here. All right, so for example here, so it says that I've used 16 of my 50 free requests, and then eventually it's going to ask me to pay. So I'm going to be paying like $25 or something like that. I think it's basically the same price as all these tools. And then it's going to say you get 500 fast requests with with your top models, with the premium models. And that's what everybody wants, because how did I break my app with Firebase? It's because I was using an API, and they charged me $35 for like doing almost nothing. So I had to get out of the API. I had to stop using the API. I had to start using their built-in model. The built-in model is free, but then it deleted all my front end. Like, deleted the whole front end. I mean, of course you could say, well, it's actually your fault. Well, obviously it's my fault. But the thing is that, like, I don't want to use something where it's my fault and then everything gets deleted. So you can see the GitHub what actually happened was that guy that was coaching, he's like, hey, let me give you some advice. And then we did some work, and then we got rid of a bunch of files, and then he set up the front end. It's just standard, and then he added this thing called vite. All right, so now, so two interesting things have happened. Why am I not really angry about all of this? Well, first of all, because this is a learning process, and that's just what happens in learning processes. You make mistakes and things don't go right, and you end up spending $35 on something you didn't want to spend it on. If you don't want to spend $35 on something you want to spend, then maybe you're in the wrong place. So there's some risk. So you just get punched in the teeth a couple times, and then you just keep moving. So you're missing teeth. Big deal. Let's keep moving. All right. But the thing is that, remember, I had that one guy, the one coding guy, and he was like talking to me about database. Gave me some advice about the database. And then now I have like a pretty basic understanding of how to set up the database. And we set up the database with the Firebase, and it actually worked, and everything was working, and everything was fine, and everything was lovely. And then we created the front end, and it's like I was really happy. And then it all died. And then I showed the project to another guy, and he's like, well, this vite is much faster, so you should probably add that now. So my old front end didn't have the vite, so now we got the vite. What does that mean? I have no idea. I got the vite. All right, so we got Cursor. Now the thing is that we don't want to just go with one. I think, we got Cursor. Why not do two at the same time? So here's Replit. A lot of people are saying you got to try Replit. Replit's the way to go. Try Replit. Why not? All right, so this is what we got. I have created a database file, and I have some screenshots for the UI of an application. I set up the front end to use React and Vite. Front end setup, the front end setup of the React and Vite and the database are all in my GitHub repository. I have the screenshots on my desktop. I'm thinking of using Cursor, Replit, and OpenAI Codex. Okay, so I've actually decided not to use OpenAI Codex because it's using the API. And as soon as you start using the API, then it's going to start charging you. And the thing is that Replit and Cursor, they already have experience with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So they know kind of how to set up the AI coding agent so that it helps you without using up all your resources. So you're not getting charged an arm and a leg, because I imagine that OpenAI Codex, and also I know Firebase is you just can't control how much they're going to charge your API. So you just cannot go that. I cannot go that direction. It's very irresponsible the way that their systems are working. For guys like me who don't know what the heck is going on. To put the project together, do these three platforms all have the ability to connect to GitHub and pull the files, and then want to use plain English, screenshots, develop the software, and then, all right. So we had a chat with 04 mini high. Now what's going on? Remember I was using 03, and it was great, but now it says great at coding. Now the 04 mini high is the great at coding model. I mean, that's what they're advertising it for. So we've changed to the 04 mini high model. Now, so they ask some questions: database type, runtime, operating system. Okay, so I can upload the database for you. I want to be able to see the app as it's running, and then some point. I'm using a Mac. I don't know. So we did some back and forth. I can upload this. I've never used OpenAI Codex. I have a domain name. And what's going on? Would you prefer to run the blah locally or in a managed cloud database? We're talking about Vercel again. Screenshots. Okay, paid tiers. I don't know. We had a little bit of a chat. Do you want to prompt high-level plain English explanations and exact CLI commands? Would you like this prompt to expand step by step through a series of questions? All right. So I think this is where we're at. Environment setup. Open, clone your Cursor, Replit. We'll pull the GitHub repo into each environment and verify Node.js. Okay. So we're on. Okay. Okay, so regarding. All right, let me change my microphone so you don't listen to me typing. Okay, I think that should do it. MacBook Air external. Maybe it was using the external mic. Oh, okay. All right. Now, what did I say? Like, listen, I said, I want you to answer the prompt. I want you to act as the software architect. I will start by downloading and opening the three software environments. Then I will feed you the database and the images, and we can talk through the basic features of the app. Then I'll ask you to change your role to a developer, and you and I will cut and paste comments into those IDEs, and then I'll reply to you with what they have done, and we can create the project in this way. I'm the project manager and business analyst who designed the UI and UX, connecting you, developer, coach, and architect, with the development environments. So I think this is the key: is understanding database. We did database. Set up the front end as it's supposed to be set up with this vite React. Okay, that was like, I don't know. Was it luck? Is it necessary? I don't know. I don't know what's going on actually. But the thing is that I need to make sure that. So remember that I hired ChatGPT as my what? As my developer coach and the architect. All right. Now, one other change, as you can see in my previous attempts to develop the software, I was always trying to like do tests and stuff like that. And this time, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do it like that this time. I don't really care about the tests right away. And also, we might try to use this software over here. It's called Cypress. We might just use that to do the tests rather than doing it inside of the actual software. All right. So now, well, the thing is that um, okay. Okay, I don't know what to do. This is my first time using Replit, so let's import it from GitHub. Now down here, actually, I have a Arrowhead Replete. I have the files ready to go. Need to pay. Yeah, so this one's like $25 a month too. So it's basically the same. Now, I don't really need to do that right now. New folder. Create a folder. New Replete. Okay, how do I actually just how do I just connect it? All right. So I might end up deleting this. Just want to know. Complete with Replete agent. Choose a template. Import from GitHub. All right, so this is a big difference. In GitHub, it asks you in Cursor, it asks you to go directly, asks you to create a file folder on your computer, and then it connects directly to that file folder. Replete. Can I download Replete? Okay. All right, so for Cursor, I start a project by opening a file folder on my computer within Cursor with Replit. It looks like I have to connect it to GitHub. Can I use the folder on my computer with Replit? And away we go. All right, so now we're back into the grind. Let's just close these ones out. Create a ripple, import from GitHub. Create a ripple. I have no idea which one it is. I think they're the same. Now what do we do? What happened? Okay, open, push your local folder to GitHub. Create in Replit. Create ripple. Create ripple. Okay, and now what? Why is it a? Maybe it's private. Let me just do a new one. Let's create a new one. New repository. We'll call it Replete. Make it public. Create the repository. Create. All right. So I guess it should be good now. Let's just take a check. What the heck is going on? Where is this page? Repositories. All right, now we go into Replete, and it should look identical. Yes, it looks identical. All right. So I think we have made it. Maybe what if I refresh the screen? Replete. Now what? Import from GitHub. There we go. Okay, AI first workspace. Your workspace is a powerful AI chat called Assistant. Can be your projects. All right, so what do we got now? So what we got is we got 3 files basically. What is this? Temporary arrowhead. Just gonna delete this one. All right, so we got arrow sketches. We got now this isn't actually the Replete project. So we're just gonna call this one arrowhead backup. Database backup. All right, so what do we got? Technically, the backup is going to be identical to this repository, this locked repository called Arrowhead. It's the same as the Arrowhead database backup. So we got a backup here, we got a backup here. Now the Cursor app is going to be changing files inside of this file on my desktop, while the Replete app is, what's this? Quick chat edits. Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Oh, okay, here, we're talking about this thing. Doc, open files, tools. Okay. run. Okay, I have no idea what's going on. Configure the run command. Run. So we're going to be chatting with this one. There we go. Configure Replit. Configure your app. Your code was successfully imported. We've created a Replit file which configures your app's behavior. Verify recommended platform dependencies. To get started, verify our recommended platform dependencies and commands. If you're still deciding, try Ask AI. Fans, 5 cents. Gemini. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to be using this. I don't know. Let's just take it one step at a time. Now there's two, I guess there's two ways we can go with this. We could just pay right now. And if we pay right now, then we get the best agent right away. We get whatever, this thing called Core. Unlimited private apps, $25 monthly credit top up. More use top up for more usage every month. More access to Repeat Agent. Build sites and apps automatically using natural language. Now, so what we've been able to do with Cursor is that Cursor kind of has this situation where it's like it has like a number of free things. But as you can see, I'm quickly running out of that quota. So I think what we got to do is hopefully we can get our money back from Google, because that's crazy. You can see I made one little change. I'm still complaining about that. Yeah, no, sorry. I think everything's set up. Everything's set up. I got everything ready to go. And if we're going to compare these two apps, then I think we need to pay for both of them. Because the Claude 3.5 Sonnet V2, I don't know if that's like the way you want to go. I have no idea. Ask questions with Gemini 1.5 Flash. Or the other option is like, can you make my app for free? Like, what if I'm only using the basic models? See, that's the thing, is like the basic models, I don't think that they're good enough yet. Hmm. this is what it looks like of a person that has no idea what they're doing. I'm just like sitting here thinking like, do we use the free versions? See how far we can get. Or do we pay? And then see which one can get the job done. What is this doing anyways? Use the official Replit CLI for direct sync. Stick with GitHub import. Nice. All right. Yeah, I'm still thinking about this. Eh. So we're trying to configure the app, and like I don't know why I'm just doing all this craziness. Up and away. Okay, so yeah, you see, it's just way easier just to do it right inside. First, all dependencies are installed. It's way easier. Hello, Gordon. Bored? Yeah, you're bored, huh? Right. So we're off to a wonderful start. Maybe I messed it up with the. Anyways, I can't do this all day. All right, I'm gonna just mess around for a little bit, and let's see if I have some paid account next time I see you. Take it easy, bye bye.